Dalton Rosta is back, this time as he prepares to fight at the Mohegan Sun once again at Bellator 250 against Ty Gwerder. Dalton, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Happy to have you back on the show. Last time I saw you was right after you picked up that big win over Mark Gardner. That was at the Mohegan Sun as well. Tell me, man, what has life been like for you these last couple of months?
I mean, everything's been great. After the fight, I took a couple of days off, 3-4 days off, and then got back to training right away, and actually tried getting on a card in September. They kind of shut that down real quick, but they offered me a fight October 15th against Andre Petrosky, who's 5-0, pretty good prospect. He just fought recently. He turned it down. Then they offered me Romero Cotton. He accepted it, and then he pulled out. And now they offered me Ty Gwerder 3 weeks ago, I want to say. I've been down at American Top Team for this entire camp, so I was down here before they even gave me the first opponent. But, yeah, everything's been going good, man. I just kept on training, switch of opponents, change of styles each time. But nothing deterred me.
Are you finding it more and more difficult to get someone to accept the fight against you after each performance? You go inside there and get a victory in the cage?
That actually kind of happened every fight so far. My very first fight, my debut, the first guy accepted, but ever since then, it was like the second, third, fourth opponent. You know, my second fight, Claude Wilcox was my original opponent. It was Med Samir Hefney, and he pulled out. And then my third fight, before I got to Mark Gardner, they offered me like 4 other guys, and all 4 other guys said no. Same thing with this last fight. They offered me. This is the third guy they offered me, and honestly, he's the most game opponent in my opinion out of everybody they offered me. So I'm excited about the fight.
Yeah, that's exciting, and it makes it even more exciting for the fans. A couple of young prospects, bright futures stepping in the cage here together. Now, you said you're down at ATT for this camp. How did that come about?
I've been trying to get an American Top Team ever since like COVID kind of happened. I mean, it was a kind of bad timing for me to try and start getting in, but then all this stuff started happening, so it was pretty tough to get in. And actually, one of my sponsors, Arias Agencies, me and him are very close, Simon Arias. He had a connect down here with a former partner, I believe, at American Top Team. And he was connected with one of the gym managers still here, put me in an email thread with them. And they're like, all right, we'll let him come down, you know, try it out, see if it's a good fit for both sides, see if he's good for us, see if we're good for him. And I came down for a week originally just to try it out, and with, you know, only a week worth of stuff. And on Friday, the week that I went down, like 4th or 5th day down here, Dan Lambert, the owner of the gym, called me over to the edge of the mat and told me to go home and get my stuff, come back. So grateful for the opportunity, thankful that I'm here, and yeah, everything's going great.
Is this something that's a permanent move for you, or are you going to be splitting camps, you know, moving forward?
No, all my camps are going to be down here, you know. Okay. Pennsylvania's my home, so I'm going to be back to visit and stuff like that. But most of my I'd say 75% of my time is going to be spent down here.
Who have been some of the main partners you've been working with?
Christoph Jotko was one of my sparring partners. Roman Feraldo. Another one, he just got recently signed to Bellator. He's fighting Pat Casey on the 12th, I believe, 5th or 12th. It's the 12th. I don't know if that news broke or anything yet, so I'm hoping I'm not like spoiling anything. But those have been my main 2 partners. Also, one of the fighters down here, Josh, he just fought at LFA this past weekend, 185-pounder southpaw as well. Those have been my 3 like main sparring partners, but I've had other partners. Johnny Eblin has been a drilling partner. Austin Vandeford, Yaroslav Mazov. I mean, the list is never ending, really. A lot of help from Steve Mocco, Anderson Franca. Huge help from Anderson Franca. He I feel like already the time I've been down here elevated my striking game big time. And then King Mo has been helping me out a lot, as well as Mike Brown. So just great guys down here. A lot of everybody's down here is looking to help you, and it's really like kind of like a family atmosphere, you know.
Elaborate on what it is like to learn from Dan Lambert. He's one of the most respected coaches in the game. What has that been
like? Dan hasn't really been too involved with the coaching recently. I mean, I don't know how it usually is, but since I've been down here, I would say that Mike Brown kind of takes charge over most of the actual like practices, the scheduled, organized practices. And then there's a lot of like side work that I do with, like I said, Anderson Franca and Mike Brown as well, like at nighttime drilling sessions and stuff like that. Steve Mocco, and like I said, I've got some side work with King Mo, a few other people. Like I said, just trying to think of anybody else, just make sure I don't leave anybody out. That's all that's coming to mind at the moment.
Well, Mike Brown is from my home state of Maine, which is where I'm at right now. So he makes his way up this way quite a bit. I've seen him at some regional shows for NEF. He's a phenomenal guy, and clearly he was a great fighter in his own right when he competed. There's a card this weekend headlined by
grappling. His grappling's legit, and he has good takedowns off the fence. But we haven't really seen him against a high-level wrestler such as Gaethje actually in the cage. You know, I've heard stories about like him doing pretty well with Ed Ruth and stuff like that, and then going back and forth. But we haven't seen it in the cage for one, and two, we haven't seen it with somebody that has the power like Gaethje. So I feel like that poses a lot of problems for Khabib. But I mean, the dude's undefeated, and I mean, he does what he does very well, and he sticks to his game plan. And like he said before, if he doesn't get the third or fourth takedown, he'll go for a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. So he's going to stay on Gaethje, but I'm interested to see how Gaethje's wrestling holds up, and actually if Gaethje might possibly take Khabib down. And there's also a threat of the knockout. I mean, he has bombs for hands, so that's a tough one, man. I'm kind of leading towards the upset with Gaethje, honestly.
Okay. A lot of people seem to be doing that. I'm in the same boat. I'm leaning towards Gaethje as well. If Khabib does win, where do you feel he stacks up as the, you know, in the GOAT conversation for greatest of all time?
Top five, but not the greatest of all time. You got John Jones, you got George St. Pierre, you got Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, I feel like extended his career for too long, but in his prime, he's up there with those three. And I mean, then you have Amanda Nunes too. Demetrius Johnson. There's a lot of guys that you put into that conversation, and I just feel like, yeah, he's undefeated. He's 28-0. He's beat a lot of good guys, but John Jones, like he was 20 years old coming to the UFC, dismantling like legends, tapping out legends, choking them out cold. Lyoto Machida, for example, defending the belt over and over and over again. Never lost a title fight. Has the most title defenses. Just passed up George St. Pierre. I mean, it's hard not to like give it to John Jones, and a lot of people discredit him because of like his failed drug test and his personal life and everything else. But if we're talking about straight fighting, I mean, you got to give the GOAT title to John Jones. And then I feel like Anderson Silva's up there and George St. Pierre, and I feel like both of them are before Khabib. And like I said, Khabib's undefeated, and he does what he does well. But we haven't really seen him against, like, we've seen him against good guys, but we haven't seen him against the legends, you know? Nobody he beat was really like George St. Pierre or John Jones or Anderson Silva, you know?
No, I actually 100% agree with you there on that one. One thing that we actually have opposing views on, and I know you've been active on social media about it, is the basketball GOAT. I know taking some back from some friends about Jordan versus LeBron. Just make your case for LeBron as the greatest of all time, because he's clearly one of them. There's no doubt about it. Tell me why you feel like he's better than MJ.
So my big is how they change the team. I mean, individual stats play a part, but a lot of people are too hung up on that ring conversation. And how many times has Jordan been eliminated in the first round? I mean, since when is getting eliminated in the first round and not winning a title better than make it to the finals and losing and not winning a title that year? I mean, I mean, anybody that has any sense of logic, in my mind, would say that's not better. I mean, he's 6-0 in the finals, but there's plenty of times he hasn't made it. He got eliminated in the first round, and he didn't have like a really title run before Scottie Pippen came in. And the year that Scottie Pippen like sat out the whole season, they didn't win it. You know, they didn't make it to the finals. And when he leaves the team, they're still a conference champion contender. When he leaves the team, he goes plays baseball. You look at somebody like LeBron, he leaves the team, and they're the worst team in the NFL or NBA the following year. The Cavs worst team in the NBA the following year after he leaves. Heat, terrible team the following year after he leaves. I mean, he takes teams from NBA final contenders and champion contenders to leaves. They're the worst team in the league. So I mean that goes to show volumes about what he does for the team, not just his skill wise, but his leadership and everything. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I mean, individual statistics do play a part. And everybody's like, oh, whenever you bring up the stats and you bring up what categories LeBron leads in, they're like, all right, he's had a longer career, or all right, he doesn't have 6 rings. MJ 6-0 in the finals. I mean, yeah, that's obviously the objective in the NBA, but you have to have a team around you. And like I said, when MJ didn't have Pippen or Rodman or Steve Kerr, he wasn't making it to the finals. And I mean, LeBron, Dart also going to argue LeBron brought in all-stars, but what guy have you seen win a finals by himself? Nobody. Kobe had Shaq. Mm-hmm. You know, MJ had Pippen. He had Rodman. He had Steve Curry. He had the greatest coach of all time. LeBron has to, I mean, he can't do it by himself. He can bring teams to the finals by himself, but how are you going to beat the Golden State Warriors, the greatest regular season team of all time, by yourself? You can't. He had to bring in guys. And then he eventually beat them. I mean, he beat them. And the other years, I mean, we're talking about competitive games where they're losing by 2 or 3 points, so they're losing in overtime. I mean, if they would have played on a different day or a different time that day, they possibly could have won. You know what I'm saying? And also, what player do you know of that I'm sure there has been in the NBA, but in the recent 2-3 decades that has played in the finals and lost and still led both teams in every single statistical category? I mean, how could you argue that he's not doing everything he possibly can for his team to win when he leads every statistical category on both teams, not just his, but both, and they still lose? I mean, at that point, you got to kind of attribute it to the team, not LeBron.
Yeah.
And he was 1 vote away from Finals MVP on a losing team.
The great thing about the sport that you're in is that it's an individual sport, and at the end of the day, you're going in there by yourself, you're coming out by yourself. You have a team around you, get ready and fight and everything, but it's just you and your opponent inside of the cage. I'm closer to 40 than I am 20, so I remember Jordan's era and seeing everything, and I love these type of conversations because you can look at it from both angles. On my Mount Rushmore, my 2 right off the bat are Jordan and LeBron. I think that's non-negotiable. Those are the 2 greatest players that we've seen in the NBA. But I think you can make an argument for both sides, and it's interesting. You know, it's good to have different points of view and see what other people think. So, how old are you again?
I'm 24.
Okay, so you're a little bit younger. So, and I know how much everyone loves LeBron. It's the same thing with Kobe. You know, rest his soul. Like, he was one of the greatest that we've ever seen. So it's I love the game of basketball, and this is a conversation that's probably going to keep happening, especially if LeBron makes it to another finals. And I think it's going to be hard next year. I mean, you've got the Warriors coming back. You're going to have the Nets with KD and Kyrie. The Celtics are getting better. I mean, there's so many really good young teams. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
For sure. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, people are having the conversation for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's controversial. It's debatable. And the conversation wouldn't be coming up if they're both not in the conversation for it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Mount Rushmore.
You can respect anybody's opinion going either way. But my personal opinion is
Sure.
LeBron.
For sure. Hey, well, I respect that. No problem for me at all. Let me show you my goat wall. You'll appreciate that at least. Those are my 3 all-time favorite right
Barry
there.
Sanders. Yeah, for sure. Barry Sanders. I
Yeah.
agree with that. I don't
Yeah.
agree with Tom Brady either, though.
Well, we'll digress. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. Let's talk about Bellator, man, and your career here. Obviously, Bellator's doing some big things. They just signed with CBS Sports Network, so that's really a jump up for them. What's your take on that? How do you feel like that's going to elevate their promotion?
I mean, I definitely think it will. I mean, it's a more of a mainstream sports network. Paramount Network is more for like movies and like TV series and stuff. So CBS Sports, I mean, it has the word sports in it for one. It's more mainstream for sports. I mean, football plays on it, basketball, baseball, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, CBS is definitely a better stage for Bellator or any sport period than Paramount was. But I mean, Paramount was great too. I mean, I guess the only way to tell is we'll see in the next year how ratings go up and how much it grows.
Are you excited to go back and fight at the Mohegan Sun? And do you feel like because you have been there before and been through all of their protocols and everything you have to do to get cleared to fight, that it's going to benefit you here even more so to get your weight dialed in and your preparation leading into the fight?
I mean, the weight cut is tricky because of the like quarantine that you have to do after you get there. But this time around, I'm switching it up. So the day I get there is going to be my day off, my rest day. So I did it last time where my rest day was the day that I flew out since I was going to be traveling. But I'm going to train before I travel this time, and then fly out, take the next day off to give myself a rest. So there's one day of my quarantine out the window, and then I can get my morning workout in the hotel room. Usually get your back by afternoon the next day or on Monday. It was Tuesday last time, but Monday this time around, and I'll be able to train Monday night in the training room. So, I mean, I feel like that gives me a better sense of things in terms of like organizing my training. But the weight cut still kind of sucks because you don't get an actual sauna. You get those portable saunas, and if you don't get a really good sweat going at first before you sit in it, you're not going to start sweating at all. I mean, I sat in that thing for 45 minutes the one morning just because I didn't want to train. I felt like I was a little beat up, didn't want to train, sat in it for like 45 minutes, and I just started sweating at the 45-minute mark. And it gets hot in there. It's hot on your back. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a tough situation, but I have a better sense of how things are going to go this time.
For sure. Who's going to be in your corner for this fight?
Anderson Franca, Mike Brown, and Isaac Greeley from my gym back home.
That's a great lineup right there. And as far as when you get to the Mohegan Sun, when do you actually leave?
We leave Saturday.
Okay, so you'll be there pretty much a full week in advance before the actual fight takes place. What is your weight at right now? Are you pretty much in line to make that cut?
Yeah, I woke up at 196, so 10 pounds over. So I'm good. This is about what I was last time. I was 210 when I started camp, so I've lost 14 pounds, but I didn't lose it too quickly. Like I was, I kind of plateaued at like 204, 205 for a little bit, and I stayed at the same calories and finally got over that little hump. And then I got down to like 202, and then I started cutting my calories a little bit, got down to 199, kept them the same. Now I'm down to like 196 while keeping them at the same, so I'm not cutting more calories still. So this is where I want to be before I cut water. I don't want to be much lighter than this, 195 at the lightest.
Gotcha. Now your opponent Ty, he's 5-1. All 5 of his victories are way of finish. He does have that lone loss, and that was to Joseph Creer. It was a unanimous decision. Have you picked up on anything from him by watching some of his tape and maybe being able to exploit him from something that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean he's explosive, he's athletic, good fighter, good striker. But I mean, this is MMA, man. This ain't kickboxing. This ain't boxing. I mean, I have more of a boxing background in striking. It's obvious when you watch him, he has more of a kickboxing background. I mean, each of those styles, we'll see how they play out on the feet coming into the fight. But there's a lot of other factors that go into it. This is mixed martial arts, man. It's not just striking. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like I said, he's definitely a worthy opponent, game opponent, athletic, explosive, has some power, but he was easy to game plan for, you know? I mean, I'm assuming he's going to try something new this fight, but watching both of his fights, he likes that. He's southpaw. He likes that left rear kick, whether it's to the body or the head. And then he did a flying knee last fight, and then he does an explosive 1-2. And besides that, I mean, he throws a 2 to the body, but it's just 1-2, rear kick, and flying knee. I mean, he might watch this and be like, all right, he's in for a surprise then. But, I mean, I've been fighting for how many years? Whatever he throws at me, I'm going to be ready for it. But we game plan for his usual stuff. You know what I mean? And it wasn't hard to game plan for. So I think he's definitely a game opponent, and there's stuff you got to watch out for. I mean, he's dangerous, just like a lot of other fighters in his game. But I mean, that excites me, honestly. That I'm all about the thrill. I'm an adrenaline junkie. So that excites me. You know, he has the power to finish fights. He has the ability. He has the explosiveness. But it excites me because I know he can do that. But he's not gonna against me. I'm gonna go in there and finish the fight against him.
Have you fought someone as good as him before, or do you think this will be your toughest fight to date?
I personally think striking wise, I would say he's the best fighter that I fought. But as an amateur, my very last amateur fight, I fought Cody Brundage, who is All-American wrestler, Division II in college. Athletic too, good striking. Not as good as Ty's, but good striking, athletic, you know, and good wrestler, good grappling. I think he was the toughest opponent, my personal opinion. He was harder to game plan for too, and so I think that was a tougher fight. But obviously, we're later in our career. Ty's obviously getting better. He's not slowing down. You can see that from fight 1 to fight 2. You can see his progression. So we're preparing for a better Ty Gwerder, but I still see a finish, first or second round.
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question, is your official prediction. So you got another finish for yourself. What is next for you, man? If you do go in, you get this win, you get an impressive one at that. I know in the past you told me you wanted to fight Dillon Danis. Like, who do you think makes the most sense? Like, what would you like next?
See, the thing, there's so many people calling out Dillon Danis now. I called out Dillon Danis, and I'm not saying I was the first person to do it, but it caught a lot of people's attention whenever I did it. I still get tagged in people's stuff left and right on Dillon Danis' photo. Bellator just posted something, who will El Jefe fight next? And people are tagging me left and right. But we have the same management company. You know, people tag him and stuff all day long, and he responds to the select few that he wants to. You know, he's reading all these damn comments. And he sees these challenges. He sees these offers. He's ducking people. He's just being an internet troll. He's not a real fighter. He's just ducking people. All he cares about is, I mean, he's an Instagram whore. And, I mean, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an easy fight for me. And it's an easy fight for a lot of people that called him out. So whoever Bellator wants to give him, more to them. But, you know, I'm making it easy for them. I called him out first. No reason for matchmaking, you know. I just told you who I wanted. We're 1 weight class apart, not even 10 pounds apart. And 2-0 versus what would have been 3-0 at the time, but now I'm gonna be 4-0. So if I decide to call him out again, they want to give me the fight, so be it. But if they don't give me the fight, who cares? He's gonna lose to whoever they put him up against next.
All right. Well, I think regardless of what's next for you, the future is bright. Again, Dalton will face Ty Gwerder October the 29th in Mohegan Sun Casino at Bellator 250. You guys can watch it on CBS Sports Network. Dalton, as always, bud, I appreciate the time. I want to give you the floor to anyone you want to thank, any sponsors you have, any social media.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media. Instagram's Dalton_Rosta. Twitter's Dalton Rosta. I'd like to thank all my sponsors, Arias Agencies, Simon Arias, thank you. Scooter King, Vito Europoli, Ideal Integrations, Mike Stratos, Josh Adamic Ventures, Bobby Steele, RJ Steele and Construction, Dr. Burnett at Regeneration in Pittsburgh. The man is awesome. So glad I didn't forget about him, forget to name him. I'm just adding him to the sponsorship team recently. Great doctor. They do great things there. And yeah, so I got a good sponsorship team behind me. Also Armina Stone, Emery Bossman there. I mean, just a long list. Everybody's seen them all the last time. It's the same sponsors as before, just add Regeneration on. And I mean, just thankful and grateful for all of them. And can't wait to fight.